We are literally going to a million doors inside of Arizona's households and making sure that they go out and vote. To put that in perspective, President Biden won the presidency by just 10,000 votes inside of Arizona, or 0.3%. And so to go from 10,000 votes to a million doors is making sure that we ensure that the presidency is delivered for wins inside of Arizona. And also, that is the pathway to victory for the president, for the Congress, for Ruben Gallego in the Senate, for Abortion Access for All ballot initiative. All of those things run through Congressional District 3, where we will have a tremendous impact on turnout, which is why we're starting on the doors so early. Yeah, we have gone to these specific doors over at least 5 election cycles. So we build not just through door knocking, but through relational organizing. And so they know that we're coming, and they know that we are, building a relationship with them. It's not just a traditional door knock where in which we ask people to vote for a certain candidate. It's a door knock where we ask them how they are, what are the issues that are affecting them. We know what they care about, and we've talked about them about that for many cycles. However, what we noticed when we knocked on the door for this ballot initiative is that they were messaging their neighbors. They were talking, using their group app to actually talk to other people. And then when we went to the doors, people were clamoring to come out and actually sign the ballot initiative. And we were like so excited about that. It was different than we've ever seen it. We have a history of really close elections that really decide the way that policy is going to be made inside of Arizona. Whether that's the Attorney General's race this past year, where she won by 280 votes, or that's in Legislative District 2 or 4, which are over here in the Northeast Valley, which were also decided by 250 votes in the past, and really represent a difference at the legislative level when we have a 14-16 split on the state Senate, or a 29-31 split in the state House. All of these are going to be differences of 0.0%. And we know that, and that's why we are ambitious in our goals to make sure that we get to these million doors and talk to the voters and ensure that they have all the information they need and get our candidates across the finish line, whether that's ballot initiative, the president, Senate, or state House and state Senate. What we're hearing in Arizona is like a tale really of 2 stories. One is a GOP that's just hell-bent on making sure that we go back to 1864 and when Arizona was a territory. So they would go to the 1864 territorial ban on abortions, and made sure that happened. And then we see the majority of Arizona who cares about women's health and reproductive freedom, and that goes among all demographics. We're not only talking to the right voters, we're talking to the right voters at the right time. We're talking to the right voters in the right geographies so that we can affect those very slim margins wherein which we can really affect the election. And so we think, from the number of cycles that we've been active inside of Arizona, that very sophisticated network will help us deliver all of these elections for Arizonans in November. LUCHA is really excited about some of the programs we have to really close the voter enthusiasm gap, specifically things like parades to the polls or burritos y ballots, making sure that voting is fun and inclusive so that you don't have to dread that interaction with your family member. You can just go have a paleta and go to the polls, right? And so we're very excited about one of our partnerships that we have coming up. It's with Grita, Canta y Vota, or Shout, Sing, and Vote. And we are partnering with banda artists, so like norteños kind of music, and then making sure that artists like Javi are highlighted. We're actually partnered with him on Wednesday. But we have visions of making sure that this is reached out to headliners like Los Tigres del Norte, which are that will really excite people about going out and voting, and making sure that the information that we gather there is exciting, but also something that we use to make sure that people go out and vote. This is part of like a history of Lucha partnering with like kind of like validators inside Latino communities, specifically like Kerry Washington, Camila Cabello, America Ferrera. All these folks really help us bring out voters and make sure they're excited about going out and voting, so that we can really maximize the effect of our parades to the polls and our Grita Cante Vota and burritos and ballots. So that's one thing that like I know we're super excited about and want to make sure that we ensure that voter enthusiasm is there, which you can literally see in the polls with Joe Biden. So we're here to do that. It is important that everybody understands that we have a Trump acolyte running against a progressive champion like Ruben Gallego. Lucha has endorsed Ruben. We are going to do everything we can to get him across the finish line to win this Senate seat that we so deserve, that we have been really has been missing for us for Arizona for a number of years with Kirsten Sinema's own personal ambitions. We are so excited to have Ruben Gallego running for the U.S. Senate. Again, we'll do everything we can to get him across the finish line, but understand, the dramatic effect that it would have if we had Kari Lake as a senator instead. That would for America, not just for Arizona, but for the nation, because then you would have another Trump acolyte there in the U.S. Senate in a seat that was blue. I will also add that the importance of like Arizona to the 270 electoral college votes that President Biden needs. Arizona has become like a blue firewall state in ensuring that the president can deliver the solutions he wants at a national level. And so what we're doing is at the same time as we are electing Ruben Gallego is also making sure that the president gets across the finish line, because those margins are so thin, like we talked about in that 0.3% that the president won Arizona by in 2020. Lucha has always valued the information exchange between like our voters and the information they need. And so a voter guide is certainly something that we print out. We make sure that we call it like a golden ticket, and so it has all the races from top to bottom, so that they can know who to vote for constable in their local election, or just for peace if we think that's something that they need to know about. Added to that, Lucha has historically printed like a newspaper, like literally like a newspaper that they then deliver to our voters. We find that has been tremendously successful, and we are like really excited about putting that out again this year. And so from that point on, we have just been winning campaigns since then, such that we're now at the point where we've helped win the governorship, we helped win the presidency in 2020. We make sure that things like Prop 308, which made sure that our dreamers got in-state tuition. All these like nuanced things we've made sure that get across the finish line, because Arizona is so decided on so small a margin on all of these races. Whether it's Chris Mays or Prop 308 winning by the 0.5%. Lucha makes sure to target the marginalized communities, that make sure that they turn out and vote. That's actually our specialty, because the Democratic Party itself doesn't actually look at those voters and don't consider them voters that they should target. And so what we do is, starting the year, we register tens of thousands of voters that are in these communities, and then as we go through the year, we actually make sure that they go out and turn out and vote. Because of the place that Lucha has been inside of Arizona, we have specialized in making sure that the marginalized communities both have the information they need and also turn out in droves to make sure that we win on the margins. These communities include the young, Latinx, Native communities, rural communities across the spectrum, and we want to make sure that the relationship that we have built with them actually returns in actual voting totals inside of Arizona to make sure that we win on these margins with these marginalized communities. It's also about building that relationship with those 74,000 voters that we registered. It's not just a voter registration number for us. It's a relationship that we have that's going to continue for a number of years with them and their family members and the community that they interact with throughout their lives. How goes Arizona? How goes the nation? At its core, Lucha is a membership-driven organization. And so we have members who, give that $10 a month just to make sure that Lucha stays, stays solvent. And that is how we grow, and that is how we build. And so, like Belinda said, every stone will be turned over. We will make sure that our members feel like they are a part of what we are doing, and that is what our mission is at the very core of what we're doing. Lucha has an ambitious goal of knocking on 1 million doors. This is Arizona's Super Bowl politically. And so what we want to do is make sure we take advantage of that moment and deliver Arizona for both the president, U.S. Senate, Congress, and all the legislative races up and down the ballot. In order to do that, we need to turn out those million doors and make sure that they have all the information they need to go out and vote so that we can win on the margins. Lucha is in a pivotal place inside of Arizona. We make sure that we are going to get to the million doors that we have ambitiously programmed, and want to make sure that we do that across the state.
Million door knocks is very ambitious, and it is what is required to deliver in 2024. We have to have big, ambitious goals to get where we want to get this year. Part of that means building the capacity of the organization. We are growing from 27 full-time staff to 42 staff. That, in addition to that, we'll have 200 canvassers on the ground to deliver that, which is an enormous budget for us. And we recognize that as a woman in Arizona, this is frightening. The attempts to outlaw abortion is, I'm scared. I really am scared. As a woman herself who's had an abortion, I am terrified that that type of reproductive health care would not be available to women and those who can get pregnant in this state. It is outrageous. It is barbaric. It is cruel. It is cruel to the extreme. And I know that I am, outside of my role with Lucha, I am making every effort personally within my network to ensure that women in my family and the men in my family, this is not just a women's issue. This is a man's issue as well. It affects all of us. If you care about the women in your life, if you care about the people in your life who can get pregnant, it is time to stand up, and it is time to get reproductive health rights in this state and in this country. The critical timing, the critical nature of 2024 cannot be ignored. At Lucha, we have thousands of members who are involved in so many ways, whether that's voter outreach or voter registration, voter education. We ask them to bring in their network of families, of professionals, of neighborhoods where they're employed. We ask them to get involved as leaders. What's great about Lucha, it's a member-led organization. The members are directly from communities. These are the most impacted, the most marginalized. These are undocumented youth, working families, individuals that identify as LGBTQ, students, people of color. And I get the angst, and I get the anger, and I get the frustration. And I would ask them to lean in and get involved. And we as an organization get to hear what is most important to individuals. And we use their feedback to inform the policy direction of the organization. We use their feedback to craft policy, to deliver to the state legislature. Lucha's organizing is so effective because it is relational. It reaches out to those most marginalized, most removed communities, including Black, Latinx, and the 22 federally recognized tribes in the state of Arizona. these communities are often not on the radar for the Democratic Party and are often not reached out to. That is why LUCHA is so important for the state of Arizona. To date, LUCHA and its sister organization, the Arizona Center for Empowerment, have registered 74,864 voters. That also includes over 900,000 doors knocked across all campaigns. People should get involved with LUCHA because, as we've seen over the last several years, what happens in Arizona follows into California, follows into Nevada, Colorado, and neighboring states, and eventually across the country. Arizona was critical for the Biden election in 2020. It'll be critical again in 2024. The critical nature of this election in Arizona will play out many different ways, but it's going to play out here locally through involvement, deep involvement of the most marginalized, the most removed communities. And so by supporting LUCHA, you're supporting an organization that is truly community-centered, that is truly bringing in people to show them the ways to engage, not just in an election year, but for the duration of their lives, in policies, in communities, in the organization, with their neighbors, with their families, with their school districts. It's a lifelong learning prospect, and LUCHA is just in a position to be part of that. No rock will go unturned. No donation is too small. Every dollar will count. Every dollar will support this organization in meeting its goals for the year. LUCHA in 2024 will make a difference not only in Arizona, it'll make a difference in Congress, it'll make a difference in the presidential election. So donation to LUCHA of any size supports our goals and endeavors in the state and nationally. A donation of any size is going to make a difference for LUCHA. It's going to make a difference for this country. It's going to make a difference for the state.